TG, what's going on, bro?
Bro, what's going on with you?
Everything's good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, yep.
Okay. Let me
Good to see you, bro.
yes, sir. You too. Text my wife really quick and tell her to look up me a camera system for my office.
Yeah, man. ASAP.
So yeah, man. So how you feeling?
Man, good, bro. Real good. Clear. Doing a little cleanse right now. Doing a with my group, Purpose Lab. We're doing no sugar and like low carb, which I typically do anyway. Kind of like follow like a ketogenic diet. And but man, I'm like my body in ketosis today, so I'm really feeling it. Um, just like I can see the distinct difference, like when I'm eating a lot of processed carbs when I'm not, and like man, today I'm like, bro, I gotta quit playing with it. Like my body feels so much better and just more energetic. But that's just for me personally. It don't work for everybody, but for
Now,
me, like
what you mean? What do you mean by processed carbs? Tell me what's that? Like when I eat a beef patty, that's processed carbs.
yeah, like just bread. Yeah, bread, rice, stuff like that. Just kind of staying away from that. Just mainly like meat and veggies. Kind of more so following like a Mediterranean diet is like best for me. I've been kind of down a rabbit hole this past year, looking at my health, getting like a urinalysis done, getting my blood work drawn just to see where my testosterone, all my biomarkers, and then trying to eat according to that of like, okay, what nutrients am I lacking in? Do I need more like, B12? Do I need vitamin D? Am I low in this area? So I really just been trying to like biohack and especially now, being in the 30s, man. I know I'm still young, but trying to like not fear going to the doctor, and like finding a doctor that I could tell actually like care, because I was having a conversation the other day. Um, I think it might have been me and my dad, and we were just talking about like I think he was saying like how my mom was like forcing him to go to the doctor just as he was getting older, but just as black men, just like feeling safe, because I remember going to the doctor. And when I turned like 18, 19 going, I could just tell I was like, man, this doctor don't care nothing about me. And so that kind of discouraged me from like wanting to go because I just felt like you rushing me through. I'm asking you questions, you don't really care. And so I just stopped going. But then like now I'm like, man, you know what? Let me find a doctor that I align with and start looking at my health. So, I know my, again, testosterone, prostate, all that stuff, early. So,
I definitely, and that's something to discuss as well because I don't go to the doctor and I don't have any plans to go to the doctor. And I just don't like the doctor and I don't like the invasion of privacy, the intrusion. I
yeah,
also don't trust doctors. Like I don't trust their kickbacks and
yeah,
their system is set up with the pharmaceutical brands and like sticking his finger in my booty and talking about, oh yeah, this swole, so take this here pill and like, but then he getting like a Porsche 911 Carrera for putting me on this pill, and
yeah,
then he putting 1,000 men on this pill, and he getting all these kickbacks. And
yeah,
ever since
yeah,
I watched that movie, it was like a movie about it, and it was like the young lady, she was like one of the pharmaceutical sales reps, and she would go into it was talking about this company. It was showing like the rise of this company. I can't remember the pill that it was, but like she would go into all the doctors, and then her mentor was a lady teaching her how to you go into the doctor, and they would either like take the doctor out to eat, whatever. The mentor looked like she was sleep with the doctor, and they would get the doctor to prescribe this pill, which was basically like a narcotic, and then it was about the narcotic prescription drug era where everybody was going to the doctor and faking some pain and they
yeah.
getting the pill, but they coming out to the car and they like crushing it up and snorting it,
Wow.
and it was showing like the high school girls and the college girls, and then that young lady, I think she took it or something like that. So, but then it was showing the doctors and how like they was getting on private jets, they was getting on yachts, they was getting brought out by the company, by the pill company, and it was showing how like they were all against it in the beginning, the doctors, and then after they saw the perks and they saw the kickbacks and the money, then they got into it. man, so that right there just was something I did not need to see because I already don't trust doctors.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
like, and same thing happened with my wife. Like we went to the doctor and we didn't have insurance for our first son. And bro, he didn't even look at her. Like when we walked in, his back was turned and he was like, "Here, take this," and just reached back, handed the script. We didn't have insurance, so he went to like the little hood clinic. It was full of black women, everybody in there pregnant. And
Yeah. Yeah.
when we read the back of it, was when she went into labor 2.5 months early, and it said, "Do not take this in your third trimester." And she was in her third trimester, and he
Wow.
prescribed her a pill that you're not supposed to take. And so it like did something to her cervix, corroded it, or did something like disintegrated it. And so it's like she went into labor 2.5 months early.
Wow.
And when she went in for back pain, she was having lower back pain. And so I say that to say that is something we need to find like a doctor too to bring on here to discuss like how can we bridge that gap and build a trust, especially like in certain demographics who may not have that trust.
Yeah.
And because I remember hearing about that on it was an audio book I was listening to, and I think it was Malcolm Gladwell, and he was telling the difference between a white woman taking her son to the doctor and a black woman taking her son to the doctor. And the white woman told her son, like, "Hey, when we go in here, this is your friend. He works for you. You pay him. So you ask him anything you want to ask him. You ask him what he's doing, why he's doing it." And the white boy went in there, "Hey, so what are we doing today? And why are we doing this? And what am I taking? And what is this? And then he said the black mom told her son, "You go in here, you shut your mouth, you don't say a word, you be quiet, you sit down, and whatever that man tell you to do, that's what you do." And then the black boy go in there and he don't say a peep. He don't ask the doctor any questions. He just sit there still and stiff. And he was talking about the difference between like taking ownership in your life and feeling like you belong versus moving through life like you a visitor.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, that's imperative, man. And I also been learning a little bit more too about how important it is for us as men to be healthy and our semen being healthy before we go in and procreate, because that's a large, factor in whether or not the pregnancy turns out to be healthy or not. Oftentimes we put it on the woman and her body, but it's just as important for us to make sure that our seed is healthy. So yeah, man, I just been trying to like do better and trying to break the stereotypes, but also I think that just goes to literacy is important, man. I think like reading and doing research and just the more knowledge, like being equipped, reading different books to get a different perspective of the world, reading your Malcolm Gladwell's, because I love his work. He got some phenomenal books, but then that's why it's important, because the more knowledge you have, it does shape how you think and how you view the world, and just being confident when you walk into spaces where the doctor may not look like you. And for me specifically, I chose a naturopathic doctor because I'm like, man, I'm not trying to be prescribed no pills, because I know that whole game. I'm like, give me something that's holistic, some herbs, some like a natural supplement, not no, hey, take this perk 30 or, take you a little Prozac or whatever, they trying to even. And then it make me think about too, bro. I think about just the amount of women that are on birth control. And I just think about in that same capacity, like how many of y'all like really need this, or is it like another, like your body is maybe low in another supplement, and maybe that's causing your monthly to be like you got crazy cramps, and then a doctor just saying, oh, just insert this into your arm or just put this in your cervix and like that'll help the pain. But then like how hormonally that's changing women today to be a little bit more masculine and aggressive because doing all this man-made stuff.
And
um
it's you right, bro. It is a lot of women now take it for hormone balance. Like what they tell me is like if they don't take it, their face will break out, their skin break out with bumps. And then they gotta take the birth control to not have breakouts. So it's like now it ain't even just about birth control. Now it's like an acne pill. Now it's like a hormone when it's like this is a man-made pill though.
yeah.
So it ain't curated to what God level. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
it's what man trying to figure out and what he trying to do. So it's stuff in there that's definitely have to have some type of effect. But man, you can't that's something right there, bro. You can't tell a woman nothing about her body when she need, if she feel like she need that, she ain't trying to hear nothing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
ain't go. Oh, okay. Same thing with the Botox. I be trying to talk women out of that boat.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear it. And so
Yeah.
it's like that's one of the things I feel like what you doing. You setting a standard, and that's what I'm gonna have to do. Just even for the women in my life, like my wife, my mother-in-law, my mom, my sister, my nieces, like let them see black men be more healthy and be more health conscious, because they used to watching black men just binge in vices, whether that's Mountain Dew or lemonade or sweet tea, or it's Hennessy, MD 2020 malt liquor,
Yeah.
whatever it
Black
is.
and
They Yeah, Black and Mild. They used to seeing us indulge and just eat fried chicken all the time, or greasy soul food or something, and just making ourselves feel good. And so then they go and find they way to feel good, whether that's cakes and cookies and birth control or whatever it may be, you know.
yeah. 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 No, it's important, man. Just as I reflect and look at myself, I realize that I can't control anything outside of myself. I can control myself. I can control what I allow into my mouth, my ears, my nose, just really guarding my gates and really trying to set a new standard. Because it's tough, but just I think we live in the it's so much going on in the world, man. But like we're so blessed to live where we live and to grow up in this time of the digital age of AI and YouTube and podcasts. There's so much information out there that we can go get if we can detach from the gossip culture. Like, because I'll log in and get on YouTube and just kind of look and see, like, okay, what's viral right now? Like, what are people paying attention to? And it just floors me, like the amount of time and attention people give gossip and messiness. Like the whole podcast thing that's going down right now, and the different women giving their takes. I'm like, I'm looking at how many thousands of views this is getting. And I'm like, man, what if you took that same effort and energy and put that into a course, or put that into learning about your health or financial literacy or history, the stock market? Like, where would your life be? But you know everything about this, and this is not going to change and make your life any better whatsoever. So I have a bad habit of being socially aloof on like what's going on in the world, because I'm like, man, my life is a movie. Like, I'm trying to curate my script and how I want to look and show up and be, and where I want to be financially and whatnot. And so, like, that's my hope. I'm like, man, let me be the model and example, starting with my family and the people that are closest to me, that see my ins and outs. I got little cousins that's coming up under me that are young boys becoming men. And I'm like, man, I gotta set the standard for them. I hope the world and other people see too. But I think when we think about our purpose, we talked about being a man of purpose, recently. Like, that's what I realized, is that I think a lot of us want to go out and save the world, but start at home and like fix and save you. And as a byproduct, everybody around you will see your light and see your example. Like, man, you know what? Like, man, Caleb done slimmed up. Like, I noticed his skin a little clear. Like, man, cuz, what you doing? And it's cool now. I got like a 19-year-old cousin. Like, he reached out to me now and like want to get game, from me about life and different things. And it just made me think about my relationship with you. Like how you took me under your wing, gave me game about, hey, bro, do this, do that. Like when credit cards or just certain things in business that you taught me, like he asking me those questions now. And so it just showed me the power of, like, we know that energy is neither created nor destroyed, it's transferred, right? But what energy are you transferring? Are you transferring positivity? Are you transferring uplift? Are you transferring health? Or is it negativity? Is it gossip? Is it drama? Is it messiness? Is it confusion? So like, that's the thing that I think about now, but it all starts with what I allow to come into me, because that what's in my heart, what's in my body is what comes out.
Right. And that's deep that you say that, because I've been seeing all the podcast drama and stuff. And I had a call with YouTube today, because they have, like, I guess, I don't know how they pick who they're going to work with, but YouTube hires what they call, I think, partner managers or something like that. And so they pay these individuals to work with certain accounts. And I don't know if it's like if over a certain amount of subscribers. And so they reached out to me several times. This is my second time doing it. Last time I didn't get to go through with it. because my schedule. But this time we had to call the guy. He in Costa Rica, and he going through the back end, and he have access to my channel, and he could just see everything that's going on, and he talking to me about it. And he was like, yeah, over the last 90 days, your views have gone down drastically, and your revenue has gone down drastically. And I say, ironically, I that other 90, I was in a verbal spat, a digital spat with a podcaster. And so everybody came for drama. And I say during that month, I made 30,000 on revenue from the YouTube views because everybody was coming for the drama
Wow.
of me and the podcaster going back and forth. And so I was like, that's why my views went up. I said, so now where it's at, it's just where it always was. It's just standard. I just maintain the same level, and I determine my output, based on to maintain my normal amount of views. And he was like, oh wow, that is interesting. So he just thought, I was falling off. And I'm like, no, that was curated. That was
Wow.
it was a lot, it was some drama. And it just showed me how people love mess. And that's the genius with what you did with the Purpose Club, or what is it called?
Purpose Lab.
The Purpose Lab, because that's why people love drama. They don't have purpose. And so everybody watching this need to join the Purpose Lab. That way you won't want to watch drama. Like, it'll make you sick to your stomach almost. Like, you watch a minute or two and you ready to turn it off because you focus on your purpose,
Yeah.
and you realize that all this mess, all this messiness is not adding to your purpose. So even when I get into drama and with them eyeballs, I teach a lesson. So I did the Little Ugly series talking about those demonic spirits that is roaming around today, and just versus just it being gossip or just being bashing. Like, here go a lesson, and let's learn this, how this spirit come into your life. This is what it's trying to do, and people was being set free. And but then as soon as I pivoted from that, then it was like, oh, okay, it, it ain't messy. Tony ain't gonna be messy. Tony ain't gonna be, you know, saying names and calling people out and just bashing. And
Yeah.
so it's one of them things, man, where we really caught up onto the wrong things. And on that call, the guy, and it's always a shock to them, he was like, you have some sensitive subjects on the ads, on your ad manager. You have some sensitive topics that you have blocked. And he says it's kind of automatic, but then you have some sensitive topics that's unblocked. And I didn't even know how to get to that area. I had never been to that area on my ads. And so when I went in there, he was saying, like, let's unblock the alcohol and the gambling. And I'm like, no, I don't, I'm a Christian. I don't promote vices, so I'm glad that that's blocked, and I'm gonna leave it blocked. He was like, but you can make, more money if you unblock it. And he was like, if you just unblock it, I guarantee you're not gonna get negative feedback. And if you do, you could blame it on me. And as he's saying it in my head, I'm just kind of like, and what is blaming it on you gonna do for the people that I have lost? It's
Right.
like, it's
That's
like they
now
gone.
gambling and drunk.
Right, they gone. And I'm like, I done took 15 years to build this. You think I'm finna do this for 5-10% increase? I'm like, that's a
Yeah.
couple grand. And
Yeah.
he was like, do you do this full time? I said, no. I said, this might be 10-20% of my income at the most. I said, I wouldn't mind it being 100% of my income, but no, this is a very small portion of how I earn a living.
Yeah.
And then in there, I seen I need to block some more. And so I blocked, like, it was a category that was unblocked that's like esoteric and zodiac and all of that. Like, and there was some other categories that I blocked. And I'm like, this stuff is on my channel.
Yeah.
And because somebody said it, was like, Tony, when you was talking about zodiac or talking about this right here, it was an advertisement came up for something crystals, but he told me that it only shows if they search that themselves. He was like, you could unblock alcohol and gambling. It's not gonna show on somebody's page who don't Google alcohol and gambling.
Wow.
And I was like, so it just made me think about something my wife was telling me about one of these coaches. Because he clicked on a link and he seen some nasty stuff. And he was like, hey, tell them to remove that out the chat. And my wife was like, that ain't showing for us. We not seeing those ads. So what you been searching? And
Right.
so yeah, that just show you, man, where our mind is. But this is the thing that I want you to be encouraged by too. Is like with how you moving and what you building and how you building. It's like a locomotive, but like it's gonna be slower than your contemporaries, but it's gonna last longer. So you're
Hmm.
gonna see other 30-year-olds get on here and just do reaction channels or do gossip and be getting millions of views.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna be teaching and it's gonna be slow rolling, but eventually they're gonna fall off because people gonna realize there's no substance. And when they empty and they lost and they broken, then they find you. And
Hmm.
then they latch on. And so it's a slow build, but it has longevity.
Wow.
And that's what we gotta get the people to realize the longevity of purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough, man, and it's so good to hear and see how you move with honor, because somebody else like, yeah, 10 to 15%, yeah, give me that, I don't care, because they don't really care about the souls of the people that's watching their content and not realizing that, yo, you are a leader in this world. People are tuning in to what you're saying and what you're promoting, and you have a mantle of sort. You got to be careful with that. You got to be cautious, but what will it benefit a man to gain the world yet lose his soul? But that's what we after. I was reading Ecclesiastes this morning, and it was just talking about um God has for the sinners to waste their time collecting things of this world just for them to give it to his ordained people, who are living righteous. And so it just goes to like what you said. And that's something that my dad always taught me growing up. He said, son, slow growth is the best growth. And so like I'm thankful for like the slow roll and just my journey, because it's given me time to catch up and really mature and work out a lot of kinks before being on a public platform, and making sure that my behind the scenes match what I say and talk about online. And so I thank God for it. I got something new that I'm doing where I'm posting a video once a week where I'm talking with my audience, those that are in Purpose Lab. And so we got an episode that's dropping tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because my whole thing is I just want to give male perspective, like, and have a conversation back and forth and live timing with women about dating and what they're going through, just to give a male input. Not to say that you're wrong and I'm right or vice versa, but just like bridging the gap. Like, can we come together and learn how to communicate, as a people? Because just I see, like you said, the drama and just the clashing and the back and forth is so weird, but like people don't understand that they're being manipulated, that when these podcasts and like certain people, when they're putting together their group, they're specifically like thinking about the views, like, oh, if we have mess and drama, because that's what sells. Sex and gossip is what moves the numbers and moves the needle, because that's what people are addicted to, because they're tapping into your flesh and not substance. They're tapping into your sensuality because they know that this going to give you this like quick dopamine spike, like, ooh, let me go get this tea, let me see what's going in over here, but your life hasn't gotten any better.
Mm-hmm.
There's been no substance or value that you've been able to take away. And that's always going to exist. The world is always going to be the world. But just, I see it now and I'm just like more aware of it. Just like everything that's going on, the Super Bowl stuff, with Kendrick and Drake and all this back and forth. And I'm like, man, people put in so much effort and energy trying to study this and break this down. I'm like, man, what if you gave your personal life the same amount of effort and detail of looking and diagnosing, where would you be? Like that'd be my whole thing. It's just like I just sit back and observe people and just like, huh, okay. Like I hear what you're saying, but I also see like what you're doing and how you living.
People been asking me to like review the Super Bowl performance, and I'm like, really? I'm like, it's a Super Bowl performance, and quite frankly, it was boring to me because I don't watch no game to get preached to. I'm not. I don't care about you all that right there.
Yeah.
movement. It's like, I don't care about that. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, the bell bottoms meant rebellion, and these colors meant this and that right there. It's still, he's a rapper. And he not no speaker, he not no teacher. He's a rapper. And if we got to go through all of this mental gymnastics to figure out what it meant, then that's just stealing more time from my day.
Right. My
And then
life.
in my day, yeah, my life. And then what is that little bit of subliminal imagery gonna do for me? That ain't
Yeah.
changing my life, making me no better. And
Right.
it just was kind of like, it was stupid, for lack of a better word. And the fact that we get so caught up in that and just so perplexed, and like, and that make us feel good like that. Like, to a lot of people, that was like Black Power. That was like, it's like a Super Bowl performance. Like, that's what you happy about? Like, really? It just was, when we really got the whole world in front of us
Yeah.
and can just go out and create and build and dream. We're excited about a Super Bowl performance.
Yeah.
And I just was like, wow, that's different. And then, and yet, at the same time, it's still black man versus black man. It's just dark skin versus light skin, American versus Canadian, but it's
Yeah.
still black man versus black man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just kind of meaningless. Not to say one is better than the other or anything like that, but yeah, bro, we really got to dig a little deeper, and we have to be more intentional. And I know people get tired of us thinking we like a broken record and raining on their parade of ignorance and just kind of wanting to spin in the same things. But the Lord is calling me into a more just real and blunt season of not caring about what man thinks, but being obedient to what he says
Yeah.
and sharing the messages regardless of the backlash or what comes with it, but just sharing the message
Yeah.
and being able to articulate and express and explain and even address the naysayers who try to come and sow discord to messages like ours, and be able to get them together in a short amount of time with wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's what
it's
I'm about to
that
start
season.
doing, man.
It got to, bro, because
Yeah.
it's like tomorrow is not promised.
Yeah.
And we get so caught up and tied up to placating to people sensitivities
Yeah.
when that's their problem, and they have to address it with the Lord. And so what's really been on my heart is a godly sorrow, like God saying it's time to cause a godly sorrow. Like Apostle Paul say, godly sorrow leads to repentance.
Yeah.
Worldly sorrow, which is what a lot of us end up getting when we fight and run from godly sorrow, worldly sorrow leads to death. So it's like, which do you want? Do you want to
Yeah.
get your toes stepped on and your feelings hurt by righteous conviction to where you can get it together? Or do you want to be led to destruction, earthly destruction, which also means eternal destruction
Yeah.
in the sense of if you walk in the wrong way?
Yeah.
And so it's getting real, man. And so I've been being real, more real, and just blocking the devils to where they can't comment. They could keep watching, but they can't get in there and try to sow discord in the middle of the night. Because what I
Yeah.
notice is, and God have me up as a watchman sometimes, and I didn't even realize why. Sometimes I'm up 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I go to the comments, and that's when the demons awake. And that's when they come in 1 o'clock in the morning and write a dissertation to try to dissuade or persuade the babies in the Lord. And they come and spew just satanic garbage of like, oh, Tony, blah. And don't nobody, and it's crazy how it happened, because the Lord will let me catch it before anybody see it.
Mm.
And I don't get a notification. Like, I don't have my notifications turned on, so I don't get a text about it or email about it.
Yeah.
I just happen to go in there and see it like a minute, 2 minutes after they just posted it,
Wow.
and get them blocked and deleted.
Yeah.
I say, look at God.
Yeah, I'm gonna start. What I'm gonna start doing is I'm screenshotting it. I'm gonna cut out their name and their face, and I'm gonna post it because you came to my public platform with your public comment, and now I'm gonna talk about it. But I'm gonna give it a rebuttal with love. I ain't gonna tear you down, but I'm gonna tell you like what my perspective. Again, I'm all about perspectives and conversations. We all have our opinion, and right to them. You came here. I'm gonna give you mine. And just I think that's what it is like calling stuff out and really stepping back into a place of leadership. Like that's what God's showing me. Like, Caleb, I made you a man for a reason, and I need you to really step up to the plate and be a leader. Don't be scared. Because for the longest, bro, I never wanted to do this. I used to tell you all the time, like, bro, I just work with you behind the scenes. I just be in the back. I don't want to be in the forefront. But I'm like, I got to let go of that fear. Like people gonna say something regardless, good or bad. I don't care how holy and trying to be righteous and say the right thing. Somebody gonna complain, but that's what we want. We need to disrupt somebody's spirit, right? If your feelings get hurt, like that's a you issue. God is trying to talk to you. Emotions are the language of the soul. Your soul is trying to tell you something. If you feel something on the inside, like, hey, you need to pay attention to that. And so like that's really where I'm at. And I want to see other men step back up to the plate and be men again and be leaders, stop being so mediocre, so lackluster, so like I'm not perfect, it's just my struggle. Like, man, come on, like be better than that. Like my call is to set a standard. We've talked about kind of my quirky personality being a perfectionist, but like that's my call here. Like my call is to be that standard. I'm never going to be perfect, but that's where I'm always striving to go, so that way I could be an example for other men to look at, like, man, at least Caleb trying, versus just like, man, I just cheat, man, or just, man, I just sleep around, or I gotta smoke some weed, or I gotta get drunk, or I got, like, nah, that's what you telling yourself. As a man thinketh, so is he. Change your thoughts, be renewed in your mind, like set a different precedence and standard for yourself. And like I realized that shift in myself, like being really serious about purpose, being really serious about, if I'm gonna pursue a woman, I need to be a husband. Like stop playing games and being in this lukewarmness and really make it up in your mind. Because I look at like how many, and I'll put myself in that category. How many well-spoken, intelligent black guys are on the internet and we all single? Like, what's the case? Like, and I look at myself, because I was watching something the other night of another brother and single around the same age. And I'm like, bro, why are we single? And then just within myself, I've had to be honest, because I'm like, it's my heart. Like I enjoy this, like I'm this single, well-to-do guy, like, but I gotta let that go. Like I gotta let the ego go. Like I need to choose a side. Either I'm gonna be absent the rest of my life, or I'm gonna be a husband. Like really drawing a line for myself, and setting the standard. Because it's so many of us out here, and on the women's side as well, where we get full of ourselves and we become self-righteous, and we don't make a decision to really benefit the kingdom. We just kind of be this dangling fruit that stay out here that just look good, but don't ever go out and produce any other fruit. And so to me, that's fruitless. And so like for me, like I'm like, man, I gotta do better. It all start with me. I don't care what nobody else got going on. My standard is for me. And if you happen to see a light, or if you get cut by something that I say, that's between you and God. You go to God and say, God, why did this bother me? Why did this convict me? Because I'm going off of what convict me. I know that I could do better. I know that I had to have a change of heart. Like I just in my analyzing and reflecting this past year, I'm like, Caleb, the reason you're not married is because your heart, you're not praying and saying, God, show me what to do. You're not asking God about this phase of your life. You just lean into your own understanding. But now that I've really been like, all right, God, show me what do I need to do? Like, okay, I'm really ready to be a husband. I'm really ready to settle down. I'm really ready to let go of the attention that I know I could probably get from women. I'm really ready to sacrifice that part of my life. And I think many of us, we get stuck in this, I'm young, I'm successful, I got it going on, I got plenty of options. And it's just an illusion that we waste time and we never do the work of being fruitful and multiplying here on earth. We get stuck in just being fruit. And so,
Mhm.
but anyway, I'm going on a little tangent, but
No, that's
yeah,
that's
man, it's
that's
gotta be a new standard.
that's deep though, man. That's good, and I we'll have to talk about this on another episode, so we don't go too long. But yesterday I was hit by something because one of my mentees came to me and he said, he was like, TG, man, I'm gonna send you this this girl profile and tell me what you think about me dating her. And I went to her profile, and she's not black, and he's black, and he grew up with hearing from his mom, "Don't you ever bring a white girl in this house." And the young lady, she half white, and she half white and Asian, and so, and it was like in that moment right there, I started to have like this conviction in my spirit of like, because my son just talked to me about this last week too. He was like, "Dad, I don't know the realities of me meeting a black woman." He was like, it just, and it's too real to discuss right here, right now. But
Man,
I feel like I've been hearing this from black women for years now. Tony, you need to stop telling these women to wait on a black man. They need to open up to white men, to men of other races. And I'm like, are you ready to have that same conversation for black men? Because they'll say, "Oh, well, black men always been dating, white women and all that," but it's like less than 20% when we actually being real. Like,
yeah,
majority of black men are with black women,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like on a large scale. And so I know only one guy that I grew up with from my city that has a white woman, and then another guy that I met in college that has a white woman. But I don't know a lot of black men who have a white woman, in the sense of, when you look at, if you know 100 or 1,000 men. And then, so if I say, okay, I know about 200, 300 men that I grew up with, and 5 to 10 of them got a white woman. Another 20 of them might have a Hispanic woman.
yeah,
But for the most part, races date their own race. And my wife was just showing me this Philippine woman, and they eat something called a balut or something like that. It came on her TikTok, and it's a egg. It's a fertilized egg,
yeah,
and it's a pretty young lady, pretty, perfect skin, perfect teeth. But that right there will cancel me out. You eat it. She showed the chicken, the little baby chicken, curled up, naked in the egg, and she just, so good, so good. I'm like, whoa. I said, you got to stay with your own people. So a lot of times, because of how we are, we do date our own. But now the world changing so much,
yeah,
and I'm producing a scripted project right now, and a couple of the guys are Asian. That's on the director and film side of it. And one of them, I was like, I also want to show interracial relationships, and he was like, yeah, we should, because that's becoming the norm.
yeah,
And I'm like, this is an Asian guy saying that interracial relationships is becoming the norm.
yeah,
And so we're gonna have to talk about that on an episode, bro, just to see, like, talk about the move, the shift, and where is God in all of this, of like, because he doesn't see color, and he doesn't
exactly.
see race, and he doesn't see these things. And so I've just been so, and I realize, I'm like, my heart has been in a space of anger. And I won't say hate, because I don't hate white people, but just like anger and retaliation of feeling discriminated against and hearing the racist jokes. So I'm raising my sons just like, boy, you better not ever bring no white woman home, because it's where I was raised.
Yeah,
And seeing the Ku Klux Klan and come to my middle school. And so
yeah,
it made me feel like, and then having 2 white girls break up with me in high school because their dad told them, you can't be with a black guy. And so I'm still carrying that at 40 years old, but my 17-year-old son is saying, Dad, the world changing.
yeah,
Like, it's
yeah,
not like how it was when you were. He was like, it's a lot of interracial couples and parents ain't got no problem with it.
yeah, yeah.
And because I told him, I said, son, you bring a white girl home, and I'm gonna fall on the floor and roll and yell. I said, I said, you gonna be embarrassed. He's like, Dad, why would you do that? I'll be like, oh Lord, no. And so, but
Man, listen, the world has definitely changed, and what I personally don't care no more. Like, because when you look at the divorce rates that's taking place, it's like, man, something is off, right? Evidently, y'all not marrying for character and substance. Like you just getting married just because y'all the same race, but what else, you know? And so for me, like when I talk to people and I give my perspective, and this is the perspective that I've also been given and raised in, like, man, like love is love, like, and I understand there's cultural things, but it also has to do a lot with your ideology, how you view and see the world. Like you said, you got experiences that you grew up with and that you saw, but each generation things are changing more and more and more. Now, prejudice and things are always going to exist, but I think the younger generation, when I observe them, I think I just a lot of stuff that other generations got caught up in, they like see past it. I think they go a little bit too far sometimes, but I do admire that about the younger generation, that they just not tolerating and going with the status quo of just like, I'm gonna just keep up with the Joneses and do this just because this is what I was told to do or what my family did, but like individually, like doing what's best for you personally. And so like I don't know, but that I think that's a great conversation though. But my parents, I have told me just like, growing up, I used to hear stuff like, baby, she can't use my comb, don't bring her home. But now the reality of it is just like, I just want you to have healthy love and a healthy relationship. Because when we die and get to heaven, it's not going to be nothing about like blacks over here, Asians over here, Hispanics over here, whites over here. It's the soul. We're physical beings having a spiritual experience. And granted, like, yeah, I get it. It's important to look at these things, but we put so much emphasis on this, and to the point that I think we idolize culture. We idolize our blackness. Like for me, like and this is to kind of go to this, like, because I can speak to, I'm not the typical black guy that black girls would go after in the real world, right? I'm on here talking, and so like, yeah, now that you get an opportunity to hear my mind, you're like, oh wow, you might find me attractive. But in the day-to-day world, the things that I'm interested in, how I move, even when I was in high school, right? Like I remember like the girls, like when I went off to college and I came back, like the, how do I say this correctly? I'll just say like the regular black girls, they weren't looking for me in high school. They wanted the hood dude, got a little edge on them, macho bravado look. But now that you see my social status done went up, I done went off to college. Now you done grew. Maybe you done had a baby by one of the dope boys. Now you don't learn, and now your perception a little bit different. That's the thing that we don't talk about.
Hold on, bro, before you go too far. That's what I just seen the clip. Did you see the clip? It's old. That's what happened to Michael B. Jordan. Here it is.
Yep,
Here
yep,
it is, the little woman of color.
exactly,
And she
exactly,
interviewing him, and he's like, yeah, I know you. The
yep,
little nerdy kid, right? Or the little
yep,
lame kid. And she was like, oh, you ain't lame no more, or whatever.
right,
And
right,
she had to eat those words. And it was
right,
like, here he was in high school. None of the girls of color wanted him.
exactly,
Now he go, and that's what my son said to me the other day. He said, Dad, honestly, it's like they don't want us either.
yeah.
He was like, the black girls don't want black guys like me.
They want what you have to offer, but they don't want your personality. Because growing up, you were the black kid that you talk white or you think you white or this and that. But now that kid done went off and he went to law school or he done got into tech. Now you into the real world and you realize like how life changed, and now this what you want. But it's like, no, you don't really want me for me. You don't like my habits. You don't like my routine, what I eat. I do yoga. I'm a lifeguard. I swim. I do all of these different things that don't fit the culture. And but it, yeah, I could go on
Mom,
about it. Maybe we'll save it for another episode. But I think that's a
oh,
real
that's a whole
combo.
episode, bro. That's a whole episode. But what I want to say to the moms and dads who watching this is, if you have a black daughter, really sit down today and have a conversation with her and have her show you her prototype of a man that she is attracted to, of a boy she attracted to, like in high school. If she in high school, even if she in middle school, because I mean, truth be told, we dating in elementary, middle school, boyfriend, girlfriend, but it's just play. But understand what your child is actually, like, your high schooler is looking at. Because if you notice as a parent that your daughter is into like the guy who smoke weed or vape, or he want to be a thug, then, but yet you are sitting here and you looking up to a guy like Caleb, but you're not raising that in your child, to appreciate that eclectic sense, that different, that worldview. And I'm so tired of the yoga conversation. Oh my goodness, so many women writing a dissertation about yoga. And it's like I walk with the Lord, I talk to the Lord. If I don't feel a conviction about something, then with the way that I live my life and how sensitive I am to the spirit, I'm just not finna, you're not finna tell me that yoga is a religion if that religion, if those gods not even real. So if you're saying it's to a Hindu god, that don't mean nothing to me because I only know one God. So if I'm in there stretching and I'm not praying to no other God, I ain't listening to no music that is chants to no other God, then that's stretching.
Yeah.
And don't nobody get the, and if they call it yoga, I'm calling it Ogoa. I'm calling it stretching. And it's like we get so caught up in just the wrong stuff and arguing about the wrong stuff. But once again, that I'm making that point to say, if that's how we raising our daughters to be so fearful of a black boy who does yoga, they have yoga in college sports now. The teams go do yoga. So you can have a young man like my son that's an athlete who going to Division I to play soccer. They go do yoga. But if you raise your daughter to be so scared to where she's so religious minded in a sense and so scary minded, just trying to draw lines out of fear. Like,
Yep.
oh, he goes to yoga, then he must be a devil worshiper or he must be a Hindu god worshiper. And it's like, so now you Xing off the whole type of man.
Yeah.
And then so now who you got left is Pookie and Ray Ray, who will never go into the yoga studio, but they will smoke weed and get high every day. They will sell drugs. They will R-word a woman. They
Yep.
will put hands on a woman, but they'll never step into that yoga studio
Yep.
or even let alone, anything else. And so
Yep.
that's what I'm trying to get to the root of and help people understand. Is like we got to go deeper. We got to start stretching our mind, stretching our experiences, and seeing the world opening up. And because I raised different sons that's different than me, and it's like, man, I had to realize I was being hypocritical because I'm like, how am I telling them to bring home a black woman when I got them in a school where there are no black girls? And then their experiences do not relate to black girls. Like young black girls don't do any of what my sons do. And just their experience, they can't relate. Like we not in a place where black girls get on a private jet or ride to practice in a sprinter or in two different states in the same day or read all of these different kind of books and doing all of this stuff. So I'm like, so the people who have their same experiences, maybe there are some black women, but they have to go into a place where like maybe a Howard, or that's what the school called
Yeah.
Howard or something like that to meet more people.
Yeah.
But just
Be in
where they're
mind.
gonna be at, it's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, I think any HBCU, but that's what like kind of opened my mind because again, the way that I grew up growing up in private school until sixth grade and then seventh grade, I was thrown into the all black school. So all of these experiences like shaped me to where it's like, okay, I don't fit in with the white kids at school. I also now I'm at this all black school. I don't fit in here either because now I talk white. And so it made me just realize at an early age that man, I really am unique and we're just spiritual beings. Don't get caught up in attaching your identity to the color of your skin. And I was never raised that way either. My parents never taught me like you got to work twice as hard because the white man this or that's just like no, you go be your best self. You are an original, you are your own brand, you are your own man. And I think like that's what we just got to like raise, especially in our culture. We got to raise our people in that, because we wonder why other people come into this country, let's just say our African brothers and sisters, when they come here, their ideology is totally different because they didn't grow up in the American system and just the American mentality. And so like I think that's the thing for me, but just exposure. But God has given us all a unique path. Like no two paths are the same. So I have no judgment or argument for anybody in their path. Like that's your path. Like if somebody
Right.
decides, hey, I'm going to marry a black man or a black woman, kudos to you. I just hope it's healthy and it lasts. If somebody decides I'm going to marry, a white man or a white woman, kudos to you. I hope it's healthy and it's spiritually ground. I hope that God is there. I
Right.
think, and it's a tough conversation to have, but like we got to understand that. I heard somebody say one time, one of my homeboys, he's in anesthesia school, and he went on a trip with some of his friends, and they brought some new people. And there was one girl that was like, she come from a well-to-do family, and somebody was just like, oh man, you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. And then she responded, she was just like, why does the black experience and narrative always got to be we getting it out the mud, and you gotta be from the hood, and you gotta be hard. And like for me, like I want to break that. I don't want my kids to ever experience and have to grow up in that environment. I want them to understand it and respect it. But like I don't attach my identity to like I gotta be a gangster. I'm from the hood. And we see that with like NBA players and like different people. Once they get to a certain level, like they want to fit in so bad to this narrative because that's what we portray as being cool and honorable within black culture. And I just don't agree with some stuff that we celebrate in black culture, because black culture is full of bad bees and young fly N-words that's getting money, but not creating healthy homes and households, not valuing themselves and valuing the community and valuing one another. But whenever something happens in the news and it's dangled in front of our face, all of a sudden we got black solidarity and we come together to march and protest. But you won't even go and clean up your neighborhood. You litter where you live at. You having a shootout with your cousin and people that look like you. So it's this weird oxymoron that we get caught up in because we don't really know ourselves. We don't really know our spirit. We know this program and this ideology that is just, to an extent, like I see both sides. Like that's my thing, is I see both sides. I just choose to live my own life regardless. Like I don't attach myself to anything, but God. So, but
Right.
definitely I think a great conversation to have, bro, like to talk specifically about dating and the stereotypical black man, because that's what I be having to like let women know. And I had a conversation like this in Purpose Lab with the women, a couple weeks ago. And I tell them all the time, like, listen, like if you did not know me from online and you saw me out and about, you would probably look over me and look past me, because I don't dress flashy. I don't look like black culture. Like I wear Lululemon. I'm going to the gym, or I'm, what I'm saying? Like my whole movement is different from what has been dangled in front of you and what you've been taught to go after. But
Hmm.
all you got to do is look at what we celebrate in culture. Look at our rappers today. Look at the singers today, what they look like. That for the most part, that's what we attach ourselves to. Going back to what you said with the Super Bowl thing, that's why so many people within the culture, like, oh my God, like this was such a this is for the people. This was Black Power. This was this and that, because you've attached yourself so much to the color of your skin, and like you see, and part of it's just natural, like I get it. But you see yourself on television, or somebody that looks like you really like attach yourself to that thing, and like you feel proud, right? And you should, to an extent, but you got to have balance with everything. Don't put anything before God or the world, because that's where we start to have idols. So
Hmm.
anyway.
Man, we definitely gonna have to do us a follow up on that because I know that's a deep dive. And so, y'all, if you made it to this point, thank you. And you see how Caleb and I try to explore and walk through our minds and really tackle these tough topics and be nuanced and go back and forth. And hopefully, it will inspire you to dig a little deeper as well within yourself and even in your circle and have these conversations with more of a open mind. I'm closed minded to a extent, and I'm trying to stretch and see things from different perspectives and hear and understand instead of just being so narrow minded. And that's helping me a lot. And it is tough, and I got a long ways to go, but hopefully these types of conversations continues to help me, and it also helps you. I know I've been learning this from Caleb, since I met him, because he kind of always have been one of those type of thinkers. But Caleb, I'll let you wrap us out.
Yeah, yeah. No, we appreciate your time and your attention span today. I think a great episode. We touched on a lot of good points. I just want to encourage people to go, hey, spend time with God for yourself, have a personal relationship, and allow God to convict your heart and to show you your path. We all here for a different purpose and reason in the season. It's not by happenstance that God birthed you during this time. Don't focus on all of the woes and things that are going on in this world, but discover and focus on your purpose so you could be a light here in a dark place and live louder than words. Don't just talk about it, be about it. But anyway, we'll be back soon, y'all. Peace.